Islam. Shalom, Shalom, call halal, Yahweh, Shem, Yahweh, Shem, Yahweh, double honor to the apostle, the millstone, that according to truth, who the Lord used to bring the word out and fulfill the truth. All the brothers who are on the four corners of the earth, preach the word and the works in these last days. A lot of prophecy is rolling and going on, but one thing going right now is World War III. But we know World War III has its different stages and its different effects that is going to take place. Because one thing that got to happen before the nukes start flying is the MOTB. Right? You know, we get very fucking crazy. The MOTB. So once that's mandated, but you got to be careful because something can happen where they could just mandate it like real quick, but it will be like a voluntary stage, then it will go to like an involuntary stage. So while all that's being developed and coming out, Russia and NATO and America, they're going to be locked. They're going to be locking horns. You know what I'm saying? And things going to be escalating up to that gun back what the actual nuclear missiles being shot. So you can give me that. 20. This is Revelation 20 and 8. And shall go up to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Gods and Magogs, right? Because the Lord mustered the host of the battle. And Aharon, like I can't see, so just feel free to jump in whenever you want. And because the Lord is deceiving them. See, these countries think they're doing things off of their own purpose and their will. But ultimately, it's the will of the Heavenly Father. Can you give me Revelations 17 and at the end? To fulfill his will, because ultimately the Lord set these nations up to destroy one another. You know, y'all think y'all fighting for world power, world dominance, or to defend the land, or this nuclear position, but really it's the whole will of the Lord to bring this society to an end, to bring in the kingdom of heaven, which is the reign of Yahweh, man. You know? But read that, hold what you got, read that.
God, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the horse,
right? These shall hate the horse. So that's NATO and that's the EU. They're going to wind up hating America. Because one thing America does is it uses NATO as a stunt dummy to go against like biggest superpowers like China, like Russia. Even though China's not a superpower, right?
Yeah, it'd be considered one of them.
It'd be considered a superpower, right? Like China and Russia, and try to bake these little countries in and keep doing what? Babylon's dirty, America's dirty, and they not for it. You know what I'm saying? Because what? It's like, yo, our country's got destroyed in the First and Second World War. This shit was good. You're not about to bait us and set us up to do these different things. You know, like NATO didn't want to. It said the whore that sat upon the beast and rode the beast, because America basically controls NATO, and NATO really didn't want to go into Iraq in 2003, but America went anyway. You know what I mean? Because the whore she sits on the beast and control it. And Donald Trump was talking about all that shit, all the money that NATO owed from different countries, telling them to pay up and all of that. So it was different tensions escalating amongst the kids. So it says the 10 horns that set upon the beach, we shall hate for. Shall means what in the future tense, meaning they're gonna have a agreement at some time, but then it's going to
Continuing in verse 17, it says, and give, I start again, for God, like in verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the horse, and shall make her desolate and naked.
Yeah, because what? When the land is naked, like when a body is naked, it means it has no clothes on it. You know, you have no socks on, you have no drawers on, you have no underclothes on, nothing. There's nothing on your body. So what builds up a land? What makes the land fulfilled? What makes the land fulfilled is basically clothing on the land would be parks, would be stadiums and these different arenas, these different cities. That's how you clothe the land. That's how you put clothes on the land. Otherwise, if you're walking in an open field, like, yo, this place is desolate. It means it's empty, it's naked, meaning what? It has no infrastructure built upon it. So what it's saying is, they shall eat her flesh and make a naked. That's allegorical talk. That's metaphoric talk, meaning it's going to the missiles that they're going to shoot upon this place. It's going to wipe out all the infrastructure, and it's going to leave it totally empty.
But when on it says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire.
Right, it shall eat her food and burn her with fire. So some of not just being shot from America's enemies, but America's own allies. You know, European countries, they're going to shoot nukes upon Babylon because that's ultimately the Lord's judgment. Read on.
That's right. Verse 17, for God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will.
Yeah, for the Lord has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will. Because what? Man's doing is of the Lord. So these other countries, reading in Revelation 20, other countries is being defeated in World War. They being like fragile, but they think they're going for the own country. But ultimately, it's the will of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shemi Awashad, to bring an end to the kingdom through this Third World War. And that's going to bring the land down. Now, it is right. In my head, I think it was like around the 7th verse. With a God thinking, right? They fight and they'll build roads for them and they'll build like infrastructure. And what they get in bed with America and they owe debt to them. So America holds that over their head and they inside the country and cause all type of anarchy and chaos. But they be all being backed by they set up missionaries and so on. But they all be backed by Babylon. A lot of them rebel groups we have in AR-15, which is an American-made weapon. You check out their weaponry out. You check out their weaponry out. You check out their everything by GM, American-made weapons and so on. So you know that what they was backed by Babylon to destroy these smaller countries, man. If they don't want to play ball with Babylon, right? I'm not getting that. All right. If they don't want to play ball, you know. And, hey, man, it's heavy times we living in, and what's coming up, the Passover, right? All the Passover is heavy. I don't really like to say that it's a heavy Passover. All of them be heavy for the time that we're in. But the Passover actually ends in March. And March is what? The Roman god of war. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They have 8 and 9 birds. The nations that, yeah, you can say that. This is the book of Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee forth. Yeah, so what? That's what NATO and the other countries, you know, they going to take the ground. They not going to actually have it. Because like right now, America, they backing really it's NATO that's up in there with the Ukraine. But America send them in there first. Like, you go first, you go first, you go first. And after they get fucked up, then they try to step in. But the Lord said what? It's going to be a country you ain't going to do that with, and that's what? Israel. The so-called Jews, right? It says what? The least of the flock. The least of the flock, I think 49 and 5. The least of the flock shall draw them out. Because what? Over there in that region, you can't forget about Iran. Iran, man, the uranium was last time I checked, 70%. It's pretty high. You know what I'm saying? So you can't forget about Iran. You know what I'm saying? And once Iran gets into it with Israel, you know what I'm saying? That's going to like force you to come out. Because you like, see, with NATO and them, you like, let the motherfuckers die, let the bear eat them. Like, we don't give a fuck, just throw them some weapons or whatever, and we deal with Russia later. But when Russia surrounds Israel, you know, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, hey, that's going to cause you to come out of hiding. Because right now the whore is just like sitting doing proxy war. Hey, go in, yeah, you go in. He's calling through like proxy, meaning like to the other people. But the Lord said He's going to know how to get your ass to come up out of hiding. You know how you smoke somebody out, they hide, and they like little smoke grenades in that bitch and smoke their ass out, and they come running out. Or you firebomb the house with cocktails and they come running out. That's what the Lord's going to do. He's going to use the nation of Israel as bait. He's going to have some shit take off with them. See, that's why you got to know prophecy, right? So you can know, now we in the time of the coming of the land, but you got to know like how things don't escalate once you know prophecy. No, this got to happen. So now you won't say shit like, the bomb's going to hit next week. You know what I'm saying? You will, even though we want that, I hasten to say, but in all reality, it's little certain things that need to jump and take place. That's why the Lord said, when you see these things happening, lift up your hands because thy redemption draweth nigh. You know, so you got to be in tune with prophecies and events, certain things that the Lord said will happen and go down, so you can know the land is like really at the door. He's at the door now, but you know, like I'm talking about like right there. Like when you like, man, get your final. You know, I'm motherfucker about to pop you in the head. He's like, listen, you want to see your last friend? I'm talking about that stage where he's like, man, your Howard side could be here at any moment now. Y'all brothers just need to be praying your ass off and hope that we count, count you worthy. But right now we got, I ain't saying it's a whole lot of time because the Lord can speak this up. But right now, certain things that need to play out on the earth. But we right there at the door. We definitely in the season. You got that?
I think Ron had a quick point.
Oh, got something, brother?
Yeah, kind of. I was gonna say if y'all brothers could hear me, you made a point about how the Lord is gonna smoke them out. You know, they might have a hole and the Lord is gonna smoke them out. That's actually a tactic that hunters use. All right, back in the ancient world, and even Jake still uses in western parts of Africa, where you might have like a earth animal, like an animal that digs into the ground, and you might
Groundhog.
want. Is that what?
Like a groundhog.
Like a groundhog, exactly. And you might want to hunt that animal or whatever. So what they'll do is they'll find out every single hole that's in the farmland, and then they'll make sure that they have their dogs at the exit, and then at the beginning of the hole, the other side, they'll start putting fire in there. So once you start putting fire in that hole, the smoke is gonna wake the animal up that's in the hole, and it's gonna try to run to exit the other hole. So the moment it pops out, the dog's gonna chase it and then grab it, and then that's where you get your animal from. So that's the same tactic that the Lord is using by what? He's blocking off the other side, and he's starting the fire on one side so he could blow out the stuff. He's gonna start the smoke, and that's what's gonna draw Israel into the war. So you got Iran getting in there, that's starting the fire, right? You got what's going on in Ukraine, that's also starting the fire. So you got these nations all coming to one side, like the scripture says that the Lord is going to do in these last days, and then He's going to put the fire, and He's going to burn them all up in the land of Jehoshaphat, in the valley of Jehoshaphat. So the Lord is using those hunting tactics, like He is a man of war. So He's using those tactics, and we can see that playing out right now. So I just wanted to
Hey,
add that.
well, I didn't know that. See, it all ties in. That's
Yeah.
the hunting tactic, that was used. So, and Esau does that now with like SWAT teams and all that, So, hey, that's good edification, and it goes back into the scriptures. The Lord is the man of war. The Lord is His name. Yeah, I was saying. beautiful edification. Obadiah 1:7. All the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, they see that you got bread. There is not understanding in him. Like you going to war, but hey, that's what they've been doing this whole time. These other nations are on to do their dirty work and getting jacked up. That's why I think Russia don't have a problem with the Ukraine, but Russia has a problem with NATO. You know what I'm saying? Why you think Russia is not taking up any land? Because they're not really trying to take over the Ukraine. What Putin say? I'm going to demilitarize the Ukraine. Because you like, yo, I got this time has been in here. Why you ain't eating up land and taking up territory? That's not the objective. The whole objective is that you go military and push NATO up out of here and let the Ukrainians live in peace. Just let them be and have their own shit. So really, it's not. Russia has no problem with the Ukraine. Never did. You know, going back into the history, they came out of Kiev. You know, Vladimir the Great. They both could go going back into the 1900s. You know, when you go into the history. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's NATO. So really, who's fighting in Ukraine is really NATO versus Russia, but they don't want to put it like that. That's why they were saying like Poland might be next and so on, this and that, because and what NATO is doing, they're using the Ukraine as puppets to go against what the Russians. But it's really a NATO thing. It's a NATO and it's a Russia thing. It has shit to do with the Ukraine. Yeah.
Back in the and I also got
you can read that.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom, and his purpose is that he hath purposed against the flock of Lachish, against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them.
Yeah, so what's that? Because America is set up through Amalek, you know, and that's who ultimately backing it. So anything that happened with Amalek, Babylon is backing it. But that's what you got. What you got the tension with Iran. So don't sleep on Iran. Everybody focus on this Ukraine thing, but Iran is a key player. I think it was General Walker. He was saying in a certain amount of years, we're going to take over 7 countries. And what Iran was like one of them. You know, give me Joel 2:20. Okay, yeah, hold on. Because you can't sleep on Persia and there ain't going to be no walk in the park like how you did Iraq. Joel chapter 2, verse 20. But I will remove from also you the northern army, and will drive him into a barren and a land barren and desolate. Now that's Saudi Arabia, right? Because when you check it out, America is allies with Saudi Arabia. You know, and that shows you like you niggas in Islam, not to say stop it. Y'all Sunni Muslims. Because in Saudi Arabia, you got 2 sects of Islam. You got Shiites and Sunnis. The Iranians and Shiites. And you don't have no Shiite believers on the Sunnis of America. You have Sunnis. So which ties back into America allies in Saudi Arabia. And really it's not an ally thing, it's a business thing. You know, with the oil, OPEC and them different countries. But they really hate you. They really dislike you, but it's like, yeah, we gotta be shooting with this crime ball, with Babylon, right? Because you over there bombing other countries, because they Islamic, right? So you bombing Yemen, you bombing these different countries over there. I was about to say Sudan, but Syria, you bombing Syria, you taking up land, the Golan Heights, which I like to call the stolen heights. You cutting pieces of other land out and shit like that, bombing things, and these are other Islamic believers. So, for the money, they deal with you for now for the time being, but they gonna betray you too. But see, one of the biggest rivals to Islam is two sects, like I said. You got Sunnis and you got Shiites, right? So one of the biggest, they had tensions throughout the years, it calmed down in the flare up, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Those like two of the largest countries in the area when you check it out. And through they two different sects of Islam, they had beef at some point. So, Babylon, America capitalized off of that. So they're going to want to, put troops in the ground in Saudi Arabia, right? And try to, invade, if you look on the map, going north, east, and invade, Iran. Because you got, the Persian Gulf right there. And you have the Euphrates River up north, the Persian Gulf, and on the west side you got the Red Sea, which is going to get into the Philistines. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive them into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder parts toward the uttermost sea. Right, so you got the Euphrates River, the Persian Gulf, right? Going over facing towards Iran, and the hinder part is not meaning your army is facing towards this way, meaning this is where they're going on invasion. Run up at Iran, you're gonna get your ass torn up. Because it's not like you got regular everyday citizens that don't like America, And that, remember I said, the everyday people, they had love for that guy. So you running up in the country with a citizen, you ain't just fighting against soldiers. You got people out the window throwing shit at you, trying to hit you with shit. They always Babylon. When they do their parade, Captain America shit and Captain Israel, they all be in the streets and shit. Man, I should fly over there and get down, start doing the motherfucking, shit, I just bullshitting, but, they be having their little GTA parades and all that shit out there, and, the citizens be partaking. They don't just do no soldier shit. They be the citizens. So, man, you got an army, as far as ground troops, trying to run up in there on some shit. Man, you gonna have a lot to deal with. It's not just soldiers you fighting the civilians. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, you gotta, that was for the state stores that we see. That was it on put it in his heart to fulfill his wish. Revelation 20 and 8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, God and Magog, to gather them together to battle. The number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Yeah, they're gonna get Gog and Magog together. They're going to that battle. Gog and Magog, right? Those would go back to driving the Japhetic nations that ruled in that area. But when you look it up today, that's where Russia sits. So, and when you look it up in the genre Compact Bible Dictionary, we actually don't have it now, but when you check it out, if you go to that own one, you might just pull it up and see it. It tell you that it represents Russia. That's going into the Third World War. Because this is Revelation, this part of Revelation talks about future prophetic prophecy. Ain't talking about no actual gas fight. And that's how the Christians, churches and people. But like I was saying, when you put boots on the ground and Iran and try to invade it, because you can't invade nothing through an airstrike. An airstrike, you could still like people are sick. Like when they was looking for Saddam Hussein, they bombed it. They bombed Baghdad for like 6, 7 months. Then you got to say round troops in because the airstrike don't really. I mean, it blows shit up and shit like that and knocks shit down, but you really can't search something out or something out properly with a fine comb unless you put troops on the ground. And America is afraid of that, putting troops on the ground. Because really, that's the real way to go to war. I mean, a gun is a punk ass way to war compared to a sword and hand-on-hand combat. But the closest to a manly fight today is troops on the ground. I got my soldiers and you got our guns. You got your soldiers and you got your guns. We're going to meet in the desert over here and we're going to duke it out. America ain't ready for that. And the proof of that was Vietnam. And that's when the Lord, going back into Obadiah, when he said that when you try to keep our heads up on high, then I will bring you down. This got to be from the beginning of Obadiah, Bible. So, at the beginning, when you put troops around in Vietnam, that's when you lost that war. And that's when the war then people was like, yo, how you lose the war so urban? It's so fucking like you big bad Babylon. You big old big bad America. You fighting this little small ass country that made you withdraw your troops. The same thing with Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Not too long ago, America was only had Russia come up in there to try to like regulate shit with them. But the Afghanis got your ass up out of there. Then when you were trying to send a woman to school and all that, so you trying to push your philosophy and your ways upon these other nations, but they picking back up. But Babylon or Israel don't want a ground war. I think Israel tried to do like a ground war with Lebanon, like 2006, which is a proxy of Iran. You know, with Hezbollah up there in Lebanon, which is one of Iran's proxies, and then it didn't turn out too good. It was just a couple casualties, but you don't want Babylon and Israel. They ain't trying to do no ground war. You know, what they do is like even when they deal with Syria, Israel dropped like 200 and something airstrikes on Syria, like within the last 2 years. You can't even really keep up with them. They kind of like earthquakes. How often they strike in Syria, but why they don't run up in there with troops? If you really want to see what Syria is doing, you can't do no motherfucking airstrike. You gotta put troops on the ground, and you gotta walk up on their shit like, yo, open up the doors. We searching. That is like, yo, open that facility, open that, come back over here. What's that tunnel right there? Open that shit up. That's how you really do a thorough search if Iran has influence in Syria or if they building deep military power that you don't want to do that because you're like, man, if a gun battle break out, we probably get fucked up. So you scared. So what you do is you fly by at night with these punk ass airstrikes. You bomb them, you might hit a school, a hospital or some shit, because you don't really know what it is. But a real man, I got you, brother. What a real man would do, like, yo, you were a puncher. Hey, you got the Lord said, if you got a problem with a man, you go to that man and tell him between you and him alone. Let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. Right? So if you have a problem with somebody, you approach the problem. Not saying you a nigga about it or you're going to be violent. But it's like, hey, brother, you got something to say. I heard you say this. I feel as though, like, you was saying it towards me. Like, did I wrong you or something? Y'all just talk it out. I'll let you out over there. Right? That's the real manly way to do and move. But you either might you don't move like that. Right? If you really want to see what Syria is doing or these different countries doing, you don't just speculate to a fucking airstrike. Because that building, what you think is this anything. So what next to it could be anything, right? So the proper way to do it is to throw a search or putting feet in the ground and walking up on it and ask questions or and like invading it. But you don't want to do that because you don't want your soldiers to die. It could be catastrophic for you. In Vietnam can be summed up by the acronym bombing, escalation, air and military, search and destroy and technology. Bring that back. Bombing, can be summed up by the acronym bombing, escalation, air and artillery, search and destroy and technology. And that's it was the first word, bombing. And that goes back into what? NATO, the EU, and the whole. That road defeat, Babylon, so the acronym, you know. And see, once you got nuclear weapons, it's like no war. So if they threaten Russia, you must say Russia starts losing the war. Russia refer back to what? The ICBM, nuclear weapons. Because what? America could win with conventional weapons like robots, Terminators, drones, and shit like that. But once the ICBM is shot, none of that shit matters. You know, the little gadgets and whatever. Once the ICBM is shot, that's it. Because you still got what? China to worry about. You still got what? Iran to worry about. And they're different allies. They got other allies too, North Korea. So you have to worry about, and the mystery going to start. Yeah, Ezekiel 38. There's a reason why
All right. Aaron, you got something? You got a point? You got something? There's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 1. It says prophecy about God and future invasion of Israel. And the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, chief prince of Egypt and Tubal.
right, and that's what all the areas that the large river structure Sudan River. So the world needs certain people around. No, contrarian is basically somebody that's just going against you for the hell of it. Whether it makes sense or not, their job is to go against whatever the fuck you say, whether it's the truth, whether it's a lie, whether you're going to contradict yourself. They just their whole job is to be contrary to whatever point you make, right? So that's where a lot of dudes be doing, especially bug out in Israel. It's a little different. I think like river is something more different than others. Something like it's something more different than Russia. It's a river out there, and I think it's I mean, so shows you that what the Toby River, going back to what those Japhetic nations, the Lord still, hey, this is kind of remarkable. Like from all that time, the shit, because Jackson was up in there on that century, right? So like to live up to now and still have like full land masses Like Iran, right? Even though sanctions from Persia to Iran, you still got the Persian Gulf right there. So in your mind, you're like, well, this is the Gulf of Persia. What the fuck is Persia? So you got to start asking questions. You're like, oh, Iran. You know what I'm saying? So like, so the Lord leaves, you know, little clues here and there where you just connect the puzzles, basically. You know, which is a beautiful thing. But that's why it pays the division. Like they told you, when Job did our topic, the juniper root grows, a lot of the juniper root where Esau was at in the Caucasus, that's where they grow at. You know what I'm saying? So this process of elimination, we find out like, oh, we gotta be doing his own talk about them. So the Lord put like, hey, that's why the Lord says, seeking you shall find, knock, and it shall be opening to you. You know what I mean? So you gotta just start be a little archaeologist, like with the studies, with the scratch under the surface a little bit. And hey, you be surprised if you come up there and find out. And this is always like confirm itself, you know. The Lord word stood the test of time. But go ahead.
All right. Ezekiel 38, verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws.
Yeah, because Russia fell in what? The USSR fell in 91. You know, it collapsed. You had Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin during the collapse. And during the collapse, Russia was asleep. They was basically trying to put a democracy in Russia. And Russia simply been set up and never deal with no fucking democracy. But Russia was basically turning into like another Babylon, you know. So when Russia fell asleep, and the deal was, one thing Yeltsin said when he left office, the deal was going back to 96 from Gorbachev, right? He was saying, if I'm not mistaken on the year, so this what he was saying, NATO wasn't supposed to expand any more further. That was the deal. Because the whole point of NATO, you gotta know this, the whole point of NATO was what, 47? 49? But the whole point of NATO was to combat Russia, Soviet expansion. Yeah, okay, 49. Thank you. Was to combat Soviet expansion, right? Because you had Russia itself, which is huge. Then you had the Baltic states, Poland, Latvia, Estonia. You had pull up the Warsaw Pact. I don't want to butcher it. Pull up the Warsaw Pact. That was into Europe. So Russia was like a family. So they're like, yo, we gotta dismantle this shit. Like, we can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the deal was like, okay, we're gonna break down into smaller republics, and that's what happened. But the promise was, listen, NATO cannot extend any more further east. You know, Germany reunited, the Berlin Wall was knocked down and all that shit. And it was like, all right, they could have stopped Germany from reuniting anyway. So that was kind of part of the deal. I feel as though that was going to happen anyway, right? Then the deal was NATO was not going to expand any more east, but they wound up doing it. Because a lot of those ex-Soviet countries like Poland, you know, like Romania, they was all part of the fucking USSR. But the fucking peace in Babylon, right? What they did while the bear was sleeping, they was like eating up more and more territory. So that's why when Putin came in, he started regulating it. when he came into office. Because that's when the bear woke up in like year 2000 at the turn of the century. You know, but hey, get that, the Warsaw Pact.
The members?
Yeah, the members.
Done.
And probably bring up like, you know, they were Soviet, a little something on them or something.
Okay. Right. So it says here, the members, we have Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, or Czechoslovakia, whatever, East Germany, Hungary, or Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Soviet Union.
Yeah. So, which is what? Russia, right? So you have Soviet satellites. So if NATO wanted to invade, it was hard as hell to invade because not only you got Russia pushing further east, you got all these Soviet satellite countries, the Warsaw Pact, that's surrounding it. So it's like, you got to go through them all the way through me. But you have what, Poland in there, you have Romania. Now, you got, type in, I know Poland, Romania, Eastern Germany, all that like became a NATO. NATO countries that was former USSR countries. Because I just named 3, but it's a lot more than that. And they push like way further east. And Russia like, hell no, we get like fucking getting boxed in when you look at it. You know, like, yeah, we getting boxed in. So then when they try to bust that move with the Ukraine, because Putin had his puppet up in there till like 2014, right? Then his puppet got up out of there, and these fucking Zelensky, all this stuff is, man. It's like his whole like demeanor, yeah, they got his NATO and them put him up in there to regulate shit, and that's when Putin like, hell nah, I ain't going down. But like since 14, they've been doing shit, they've been keeping an eye on him, but they once NATO starts trying to set up military and shit up in there, Putin he had to invade. That's like Russia saying like, yo, we cool with Mexico, nigga. We about to link up with Mexico and motherfucking Venezuela. Those even though they staying in there, but Venezuela's like going but like directly on the border. Like yo, we about to link up with the Mexicans, those our homies. We gonna like set up shop in that shit. America won't be for it. They showed you that in '62 with the Cuban Missile Crisis, where they tried to put nukes in Cuba. You know, they wasn't with it. And was it Kennedy? Kennedy at the time, right? And he was like, listen, if you don't remove this, if you don't turn your sticks around, we about to go to war. So the shit was about to kick off back then, you know. But they turned the sticks around. What they don't tell you is Babylon had missiles in like Turkey somewhere. I believe it was Turkey. Because Russia, hey, people believe like the Russians is the threat or the bully. They not. It's really America. It's really Babylon. See that whole Cuban Missile Crisis? They teach it in school, but they never tell you the flip side of the coin. The reason Russia was doing that, it was a retaliation thing. It was like, well, nigga, remove your shit out of fucking Turkey then. Russia ain't just going around starting trouble like, hey, you see Cuba right there? Let's put nukes right there and let's start with motherfuckers. They don't have that mentality. It's Babylon. It's the West that's doing fuck shit. That's what the script man did that out of Jeremiah 51:7. When he said the nation has drunk of our wine, therefore the nations are mad. It's America, the hammer of the whole earth. See that one too. The hammer of the whole earth is broken into pieces. That's Babylon, man. They're the ones that's like oppressing people and fucking with people and stirring shit up, man. Russians just decide to, Fidel Castro, we're going to drop nukes 90 miles off the coast of Florida. Knowing it's going to stir something. Nah, it was the whole point that Babylon was setting up shop near Russia border. And Russia's like, well, if you don't want to move them as a test move, well, if you don't want to move them, we're going to put nukes in fucking Cuba. So that's why it was like, they was like, well, we should go to war then, but it was the Lord calmed it down. The Lord, he squeezed it off. It was like it was settled. They don't tell you that America removed their nukes off the border, and Putin turned his ship back around, and this whole shit calmed down. But not Putin, but I'm saying Putin, but Russia at the time, they turned their ship back around, and the shit calmed down.
Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are fat.
All your trickery and witchcraft, your deception, your disloyalty, So now what other now these other nations get built up. They're getting their technology built up. They're getting their missiles and their weaponry and their drones. Like what you call, hey man, they like to show these countries as being fucked up. Like they'll show you Africa, right? You look on, because a lot of our people got in their mind, like when they think of Africa, they think of like a fucked up place, right? They think of like people walking around ass naked, fucking hyenas, like some wild shit. That's what they think of. they don't think of like, oh, this place is fucking beautiful, man. Right? So these countries, look, you got China up in there, right? You got a lot of Chinese up in there that's buying up infrastructure, building roads and bridges and shit. It looks nice. But Babylon will show you like starving things. Now you got starvation everywhere, right? You got homeless people here in New York that look fucked up, right? So, but they'll show you like some terrible, looking place, but you go there yourself, they don't look fucking nothing like that, right? So these countries is building up their economy in many ways. Their military, they link with other superpowers like China that's backing them, supporting them, building bridges and shit. So now these countries are coming on a level like, man, fuck America. Like, fuck this place. Like, even back in the day, New York used to be this city everybody want to go to. But see, it's only got so high these devils to climb, right? But now you got other cities in Babylon. You got, man, we're going to Austin, Texas. So we're going over here. We're going to fucking Tennessee, Nashville. So we got all these other different cities and places that build up that you can go now. That got like a little city structure and foundation to it, where people like it's fucking York. Like it's other places in the planet that's just as fun or just as entertaining that we could go to. And the same with these other countries. So now these other countries like, man, fuck that place. You know what I'm saying? Like people, that's why they call Babylon a whore, America the whore, because really economically, you will come here and get money, and, once you get your money, you take their money and take it to another country, and you have your conversion power. Right, so you just use America for what it has economically. What do you think these heathens do? Man, you might go to the store like, man, you won't let me go for 50 cents? He like, hell no, because in my country, nigga, that's like, fucking $80. Right? So he like, yo, but in your mind, it's 50 cents. So then this shit $80, right? With the conversion rate. So people only come to America because of groups. They don't come here to fight in the war. They don't come here to join the military and all of that. People come here to get bread and shit. Even Americans doing that. Like with the whole COVID thing from remote working, you have people, from working out here, and while I'm talking to different people, whatever, picking their brain, you got people that do remote work, and they in fucking Panama, they in the jungles of Colombia somewhere with a fucking laptop, and they got the American dollar coming to their direct deposit, right? And they working from another country somewhere chilling. You know what I mean? And they taking a lot of money that's leaving this place is not coming in no more. Like all the tourists, man, this place was man, New York was fucking crawling with tourists. Man, you go on 42nd Street, man, that shit is naked. Man, you don't see people, but the way it was, 34th Street all downtown, that shit naked, man. You like, man, where the fuck everybody at? People left. Then a lot of people moved to Florida and other states during the because remember them southern states was open. So now she's trying to reopen up here. We're like, man, fuck that. I ain't coming back. Right? Because what, the rent done tripled. Like, so, see, when COVID hit, so we don't get back to this shit. Once, I mean, once the Vanessa hit, you know, this devil Fauci said the shit over with. We know y'all got it out for the property and shit. They moved away and shit. So they don't want to come back. Then they had the rent, where the rent was dropped, where you only had to pay like 20%. But once that shit got lifted, now people got to fix it, moving into Jersey, Connecticut. They was out moving into like places down south. Because once the shit went up, it went down over, and every year shit go up. So from like 2020 to 2022, that's a double year jump. So now you coming back to the apartment, you're like, well, how much is it? Say you got a 1 bedroom in fucking downtown for like $3,500, some small shit, right? And you like, all right, I'm trying to move back, and they like, the rent is down $5,000. You like, what? Like after the rent lift got lifted, thank you, that's the word. Moratorium got lifted, so it's like it's not back to your same rent. Like, yo, nigga, that was 2 years ago. This 2 years later, that shit is now 5,000. So you like, oh shit. So now people breaking into Brooklyn, but that shit going up. I mean, like the hoods in Brooklyn, like Brownsville, East New York. You got heathens up in there, like decrepit places. You got heathens up in there trying to get hold of that, like that cheap rent. They moving like into Jersey, different parts over the water, and things like that. You know, because Babylon is falling. You know, it's not that place of glory no more. Even these cities, it's not like that. Now, people on a higher level of thinking, they just bouncing, man. You got a lot of people with the blessing of the internet, the unicorn. You got people that got passive money coming in from Instagram. You got people selling shit on Facebook Marketplace, and they like, hold up, man, I'm doing all right. You know what? They'll tell a job like F you, right? And they'll bounce out like Haran had brought a point out in his book he had, I forgot what book, but it shows you how Esau gonna push individualism, where people was like their own celebrities, people was like their own bosses, right? And what that does is it collapses, because the elites want to flip this, bankrupt this place. So what it does is it collapses the people that working jobs and shit like that. That shit gonna get like played out. You know, because you got regular, average day people, or like OnlyFans, right? That's like a digital pimp, right? So you got women that can get an OnlyFans account. You got bitches selling feet pictures for 10 stacks a month. So yeah, I just take pictures. Yeah, just run the world. You take pictures of your feet, put that shit on Instagram, and you got weirdos out here with feet fetishes and shit like crazy shit, and they'll pay $6.99 a month, and all she do is sit there and paint her toes different colors and paint her. Hey, you heard the chick who saw a fart in the bottle? Yeah. Google that shit when you get a chance. Take a picture. It was a chick who was selling. I doubt if she really farted in the bottle. She probably just sold a motherfucker an empty bottle and said her fart was in it. But yo, this system is like going wild. You know what I'm saying? So these women and Esau like that because what? He don't have to take care of these women. Women are a strain on the economy. Esau's about, listen, let these women sell free tickets. He legalized prostitution in certain states. These women do all that shit. Because I ain't taking care of them. I'm trying to buy more motherfucking meat for this war. So that's their mentality. Like somebody, because if a man don't marry a woman and take care of her, she become like a strain on the society. So that's why, like, the whole stepdad thing was a step. Because, I know it's different a little bit, but because in the society, they grouped up in tribes, right? So when you came to your own tribe, you got all down by like a fucking rhinoceros. What had happened is, you from the tribe of Levi, right? So what had happened is, the tribe had what? You had like 2 kids, 3 kids, right? The chief would come, Chief Aharon would come and take our shit and give it to his family. You gotta give a portion to his family because the brother Bakar got mauled down by a rhino in the fucking woods somewhere, right? So we gotta, and say his kids young like, well, we gonna start talking. Man, Aharon keep coming, taking part of our resources to take care of the family. This kid is young, so this shit been going for years. So what we'll do is like, now we gotta find somebody from the tribe of Benjamin or one of the other tribes to wipe her up. So what we would do is shoot your wife up to be this great woman to make it look like you getting the deal. And once you marry him, you go into that tribe and we keep our resources. So Esau do the same thing. He hype these dudes up to ship out for these women because he don't want to put the bill for them. So hey, run the world. So the point is that this whole individualism that's being pushed is causing people not wanting to work in these stores, like Macy's and shit like that. It's causing minimum wage to go up, and it's causing the people, the employees, to have power over the employers, and that's proper. Man, don't get that. That's Amos 9 and not the 10. That's Amos 13.
That's what you're saying. I think Bernie Mac, remember the Bernie Mac show?
Yeah.
His daughter, the baby daughter, came out and said people were the only thing not grown up.
Yeah. Because women, and you gotta understand, there's more women than men. So women like, yo, she's selling street pictures. Just doing like ass naked dances and doing all types of crazy sexual shit. Now, OnlyFans could be used for other things, but the first thing that's on the mind is like something sexual. It's basically OnlyFans is like a digital thing. So women have now known how a way to monetize their beauty. So you got chicks on OnlyFans that's selling bath water, some pretty little. I have my bath water for $17.99. It's chicks from all over the world buy that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like a millionaire, like within months. And they got this like high class. That's why like every judgment coming for these women too. That's prophecy too. But hey, that's what the world becomes. But read that.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 13. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper.
Yeah, see? Now it's coming to days what? Because you got individualism being pushed, right? You got Lyft, Uber, fucking Instagram, Facebook Marketplace, DoorDash, and all this crazy shit. Where people like, well, You know what I mean? Fuck going to work. You know what I'm saying? Listening to some boss hovering over me and shit telling me to do this and that. I ain't doing that shit. So people find other ways to like make money, and it's taking them, and since they got more free time, they're leaving the country. They're like, man, we going here. Hey, we got this group out the passport bros, bunch of jakes, right? They got some Edomites and other nations, but a lot of them Israelites though. Bunch of jakes running around, flying to other countries. Hey, and that goes into the prophecy when he showed a mixed multitude. Because listen, think about it. If you got a bunch of jakes throwing a title and the woman be all over jakes out there. I mean, when you doing some type decent shit, man, you probably could go out there like looking like this. Like you gotta beat them shit off. So you know how Jake do with this. Jake loose with his feet. Man, Jake go out there to get 20 Israelites out there, man. They be them populated, like half of the damn population. You know, Jake is nice. You know? And then we do what? We got these so-called mixed babies out. You know, it's a seed of Jake, but they might have the characteristics of their mother, which is like some more Bible speaking. But some of them even go back to Israel, the Philippines, and these different areas. So you got Jake traveling to these different countries, dealing with foreign women, and that looks most that looks different, and really that Revelation 7, that's 7 and 9. But yeah, man, say, hey man, everything is like coming together.
Amos 9 and 13. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that sows seed, and the mountain shall drop sweet wine, all the hills shall melt.
Yeah, so that's showing you what? It's going to come a time when you're going to be telling your worker, your people do it now, especially like a lot of men, man, fuck you, I'm not. I ain't got to work this shit. And they're dick. You know, so the thing is like, why go to school and why go to school for 4 years to be a nurse and get started out with $60,000 a year when you could sell peach pictures on OnlyFans, or you could sell bathwater, or you could sell bullshit to tips all day and just sit in the comfort of your own home and make probably that $60,000 in like 3 months. Non-stop money, you know. So OnlyFans take their cut and you keep the rest, you know. But and so when you doing shit like that, you ain't do no job. You like, yo, I ain't going. What the fuck do you go to work? I ain't about to go sit, stand up right here. Come on, $12 an hour for this dude. Then he's sweating me. He want me to do this and do that. Stay extra cover for this person. And now people coming to the point like, man, fuck that, I ain't doing that shit. And that's what's happening with these companies. They're not able to find loyal workers. They're not able to find people that will stay long term, and that causes them to what? Belly up, man. But that's ultimately, see, we know the big picture. That's ultimately what the elite want. But really, that's ultimately what the Lord wants. Because it's all what? Profit.
Isaiah 47 and verse 7. And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou dost not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasure, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Yeah, going into Babylon the Great, America. America dwells carelessly. America doesn't consider the latter end of what they've done. They enslaved the Israelites. They enslaved the Lord's people. They've gone around the world spreading wickedness that we read earlier, the Babylon wine, getting the nations to drink of it. Really, it starts in the mind, dealing with these other nations like Iran, Afghanistan. They try to get the mind of the people. That's why I think in Afghanistan right now, you have this feminist movement that they're trying to push.
Yeah, they're trying to send the women back to school.
Right. Right.
That was one of the things they trying to.
Basically, you being oppressed over there, so come get down with how we do it in America in the West. And then when the people start to buy into it, that's when they can start to really get things shaken in that country. But countries like Iran, for example, the Lord has been kind of more in the stoic mindset of not fucking with it. You know, but basically, I'll read this again. Isaiah 47:7, and thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou dost not lay these things to thy heart, neither disremember the latter end of it. Yeah, the whore, Babylon the Great, thinking that she's never going to get touched, thinking that she's going to be on top forever. The average everyday mind of your everyday American, they believe that they're never going to fall. They believe America is going to be in the power for eternity.
Like they took all the factories overseas. Like they moved a lot of these factories that you work in overseas. A lot of people you call like telecommunications, some shit wrong with them. See some dude in India, some shit like that. Yeah, hello, you know, it's Patel, you know, like, like you call up like for customer service or some shit, they be way the fuck over there, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's chilling like the job market, you know?
Reading the 8th verse again. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given the pleasure, that dwelleth carelessly, and that's an example. Everything we've been talking about, OnlyFans, the gig economy, it's based off people's laziness, based off wickedness, based off people not want to actually learn a skill that's valuable, and what they want to do, they just want to live off of a lust-based lifestyle. You just sell your ass and sell.
You saw the video game niggas?
Yeah,
niggas making bank off of fucking video games. Yeah, motherfucker on a video game making millions, playing Call of Duty, eating Cheetos and shit with fucking stank ass feet. Never washing his ass, like millennials. What they call these video niggas? Fucking, niggas eating fucking Cheetos, drinking Kool-Aid, making millions of fucking video games. This shit is wild, man. You be on the computer, right? Yeah, and this is the future, so you know this shit is a wrap. You about to tell this nigga to go to work? Hey, one of these new niggas went to work, right? This shit was too much for him, so his mom came in and had to check the supervisor. This was a grown-ass man, he like 26. Like, these new function in the real world, man. They can't. Like,
metaverse.
Yeah, the metaverse, like these new dudes, they can't, if you put them out in the real world, they not gonna make it, bro. Yeah, the ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, these kids coming out above the fuck up. And yo, but they some hustling motherfuckers when it comes to their sport or their craft. They got millions of followers, and they all support them. Like, so, yeah, man, this shit, like, and that's why these businesses, like, yo, I'm trying to hire, like, you know, somebody got Jake out here that's upper age that's trying to find work or something like that. But these young, youthful motherfuckers, they ain't trying to do that shit. They all part of that, basically that MOTV system. That's really what they is. They really, like, zombies for that MOTV, because that's all digital shit that they hooked into. And that's what Esau pushing, like, listen, man, I'm going to a job for do this and do that. We pushing everything digital. If you go digital, you're going to be more better off. And all roads lead to the tip. I was listening to this stock nigga, right? Peter Mike. He was like, listen, anything digital, bank on that shit. Because that's what the future. He was like, put all your money into, this thing was saying like, I think he mentioned something about supermarkets, right? He was like, I wouldn't really put my money into supermarkets unless it's a stock like Amazon. Because Amazon got the digital supermarket. He was like, yo, you want to make some money on some stock? He was like, fuck it, anything that's going towards think if anything like that, he said that shit gonna make sense. I was like, man, I thought about, yeah, because all roads lead to the MOTB. Because that's what? That's biblical, that's all biblical prophecy. I'm like, yeah, this guy was on point. Like when it comes to like that shit, I don't know if he know the truth or whatever, but he might be juiced in somewhat, a little insider, that everything is kind of towards that. So anything going digital or cashless or whatever, you know, like investing. Just like years ago, you see Uber stock, you like, but if you know the prophecy, you're like, yo, that's not benefit. You're not paying the tax money. That's straight fucking unchecked money. People still gonna have to get around. Let me bought some stock in this shit. If you bought stock in this shit, you would have been paid. Now I'm not no financial advisor, so don't. I'm just trying prophecy to like what's going on now, but these people is in a trick bag because in their mind they think they're coming up, but really you spiritually you going down. You going down because you think you're coming up. Feeling your ass and it's killing you in the face. See, that's what I'm saying, but see, we know the scripture says we know the Lord don't come like a thief, you know. But I don't want to hold the floor. I know we had the Ezekiel and all that, but that was Gog and Magog. It touched on Persia, Iran, going back on. Y'all, I couldn't know. No, I'm going to let another brother come up before we get up out of here. But, yeah, so one of y'all could come out. I just back that with the
Hey, real quick, if I may say, the elder made some very important points because we are actually in that time because everything that's happening right now, all these companies, if you pay attention to all these companies that people actually deal with and interact with every day, they're all investing trillions, billions and trillions of dollars in AI. Okay, because they start to see that a lot of people are not trying to work. So going back to the World Economic Forum and what they're saying about the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution has to do with the market. Anything that has to do with industry has to do with market. It has to do with production. It has to do with transportation, and also has to do with supply. So that's where you have the whole supply chain, the whole concept of the whole supply chain, and all that. They had to destroy that. Okay, that's what you've seen over the past 2 years. So it could open up the door and open up the way for them to bring in this MOTB technology by way of AI. Okay, artificial intelligence. Now, when you go back into history in the scriptures, there was a land, all right, that Israel conquered, or I believe it was the second city that we took over after Jericho, and that's the name of that city was called AI. And when you go into the meaning of that AI, it means what? Heap of ruins. So they're going to
Yeah,
use it.
I think it was Joshua 7. The
Khan, the book of
chapter,
Joshua, the 7th chapter. That's right.
the second city they took over. So when
Yep.
you go into the word, it says ruin of thee.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. So that's what they're gonna use the AI technology ultimately to bring about the ruins of society. Because once AI comes into play, regular people's activities will be limited to a certain degree. And that's what they're trying to do. They want to take away people's ability to do things without technology. So that way you depend on the technology. And once you depend on the technology, they have you where they want you. Right? It's not at the point of if you want to eat, you gotta be registered, you gotta be identified. If you want to travel over here, we need identification. If you want to do anything in this new system with AI, you got to be identified, and that's where the MOTB concept comes in as well. You know?
Yeah, because it makes sense, right? They're going. The tactic that you start using is gradually. So he's first gonna get you hooked, and then once you hook you at his mercy, then he's gonna start pushing you in different demands.
Yep.
Because once, for example, you going to do drugs and they give him like a gateway drug, they don't charge him like major ass crazy outrageous prices. They might give you a sample. Yeah, exactly. They might give you a sample. And once you hook, they know that you're gonna do whatever it takes to get some more. That's when they can hit you with look. You gotta give me this, or you gotta do this, or you gotta do this, and the third. And that's pretty much what Esau does on a industrial level, on a much larger scale. They'll say, look, you know what? I'm gonna turn that notice what your point put up. When the CBDC comes out, so any issues that you got dealing with the IRS or your Social Security or your bank or your direct deposit, stimulus check, it's all going to be through the central bank digital currency. And so with that, they're going to force people, anybody that's on Section 8, anybody that's receiving Medicaid, all of these things are going to be processed through the CBDC system, whatever digital system they're going to come up with. And so as when you would go to a certain site or you go to the DMV to do this, when you go, they're going to have to redirect you to whatever hub the CBDC is going to be functioning through.
What's that word for outside of Charisma when the chicken said the right is
Grapple?
Yeah, Grapple, yeah. So that sounds right in.
Exactly. So they're going to centralize everything, put it into one spot, and you got to go right there for it. And what are people going to do? Let's say your driver's license expires and you got to renew it. You go to DMV and then you got to go to the CBD central bank. Now you say, I don't fuck with the central bank. I wasn't can't drive. Now you screwed. Then you live off of Uber or something like that. Now you can't work. That's a temptation in itself, and that's going to indirectly force a lot of people. So before they got to come and say, look, we're going to chop your head off if you don't take the thing, or we're going to declare you a terrorist if you don't take the thing, they're going to indirectly force you. They're going to say, look, this is how we do it now. The ball's in your court. You do what you want to do.
The UBI.
What?
The UBI. The UBI.
That's it, the UBI. Right? So if you want to part, and that's why in Revelation 13, when you go into the word, when it talks about buying and selling, no man might buy or sell. The buying deals with partaking in the agora. I think the word is agorazo, because the agora is where you have all the business transactions. You have pretty much anything that is done on a societal level happens really at the agora. So in order to partake, because the reason buying and selling is emphasized is because we live a transaction-based life. Everything you do is transaction-based. You use a phone, you're paying. You're making transactions. You got to pay your phone bill. You got to pay for the internet. You may use your phone for Apple Pay. Subject to payment. There you go. Subject to payment. Right? So this is the land of traffic, aka the land of business. If you drive a car, you make a transaction. Because guess what? You're going to drive that car, you got to put gas in that car. When you insurance, if you pay the car note, maintenance, antifreeze, all of your car breakdown, everything is transaction based. If you don't drive a car, you're going to take public transportation, whether it's an Uber or it's a taxi or it's a train or it's a bus. Transaction based. You outside and you want to buy food, transaction based. You want to buy groceries, transaction. Everything is transaction. So when they cut you off, that's when you realize how dependent you are on transactions in order to live.
Right. And real quick.
Oh, Salak, tell them what you said, and I got you.
Okay.
You are selling yourself to a company, and you're going to buy your skills and buy your time. You're going to profit off of yourself, and I hope you show the transaction again. But I know a lot of people all these online things, you're not going to stop something, or you are not what about the scripture? What's going to take the emphasis when they made them going to the Agora that they had to work with? You have to burn incense to their God before you go into it. So loyalty to the city. You have to do something that will be also down that you can come into. So it wasn't just something. You all brought out a while back. Yeah, stick my mom on a butcher. I believe it was a special back the brother up, someone that's not sinning, but sin is like something spiritual. How can somebody make a violent felony and step in the store? How can they tell whether he's sin or not? What if he lie, right?
Now they got the sin detector.
Yeah, they got the sin detector.
Don't you?
Yeah.
That's Okay. Yeah, no, around your time.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that through the spirit, there's a reason why the main people who are pushing for this digital overhaul is World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum, when you actually go into that word forum, it goes back to the agora. All right, that word literally means the agora back in the Roman Empire, where they'll have the open space where they'll discuss and do all that extra talking and all this shit. All right, so when you break it down, what they're saying is a new world where they're gonna have a great reset, but it's gonna be done by the hands of the world economic, which has to do with buying and selling and what the overhaul. So a world overhaul of the economic marketplace. And the new form of payment in this new marketplace will be done by digital transactions, which will be done by the MOTB. That's what John saw. So everything that we're saying now is basically just making clear what the prophecy states, and that's it. That's what we go into the breakdowns and so on and so forth. All we're doing is literally explaining the prophecies in real time. That's it. So we're literally in that time that John saw, where they'll cause all, both small and great, rich and poor. We're living in that time right now. We're living in that time right now, and that means that we're about to start seeing the MOTB being implanted as a form of payment, just like John saw. What you got, man?
Because at the end of the day, like you said, the Apostle John told us, right? So how the hell was he seeing the store, and he sees that they're in the store, but how is he seeing them receiving shit? It's really the general thing. You hear the thing, the specific kind of thing, he said it's just shit, right? So how is he seeing that? That makes take them off most of the time, right? You can make 5 things in a day, you don't take 5 things in a time. And if you can repent from sin, how do you repent from your one from? Everybody is going to be the church. So you're going to take it, then you're going to repent for the Lord. Abomination is man on man, woman on woman. It's an absence. So if you're going to say the MOTB is sin, what else is sin? You have to kill the dog. Man on man, woman. All have sins and stuff. You have not found a dying saying that. So if you're going to say sin, you have to be able to identify what the sin is. What the sin is. Like the elder said, and I got to real quick, that ain't none of us, we all fall short, right? So what's the point of having the warning if by the time the warning came out, then everybody done sinned, So what's going on there? Yeah, like the Lord told Ezekiel, he was giving a warning to me that they're wrongdoing, so they know, okay, not to do that. You can't just say, you have to break it down straight from what they're doing, what they're thinking, what the Lord right. There's an action that you're doing that the Lord doesn't like, and you have to correct it. Again, something that's not something that's in your hand. And if the mark is sin, right? This is just throwing a lot. If the mark is sin, so you need to tell me if every sin, but except the one we get in the prison, you get out. Every other sin is accounted, but not that one. That one's not. So if the mark is sin, by definition, it's included in that, but that's not. Why? That's suspect. Either you sold out, or you just been deceived, so you got to clearly fucked out. Either way, the logic is not adding up. Math. You know what it is, though? It gets deeper. These people is investing in this world. Right. And in order to get making in this world, you need money. And they know that MOTB is a new form of money. So it's just like, yo, once you got the ideology like, yo, I can't make it's going to come a certain point that I'm going to have to say, fuck this world and fuck making money. If you don't have that in your heart, then eventually stop doing that. You're not about to agree to the MOTB doing this shit. You like, motherfucker, I got business shit set up. I got plans in this shit. We got to call it something else. Yeah, because they're investing. They're investing. Because these dudes not stupid. Like, it's like the art.
Babylon. Well, it's like, yo, so now you gotta get these why is they screaming it? And these dudes is heavily invested in Babylon. So they're like, man, I can't teach this to the congregation. Niggas trying to get money. And that's the new money. So they're going to deny that. They're going to come up with another doctrine. They're going to try to say, nah. He got it, ain't that. Matter of fact, one quick reset. Didn't Ezekiel to tell you that how Israel is comfortable with Babylon and comfortable with focusing on it. And I pass it like that. This is Ezekiel 11 and 2. Ezekiel 11 and 2. They said he unto me, Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief and give wicked counsel in his city. You know, they give wicked counsel, wicked advice, saying what the MACB is saying, and all these different things. Which says, it is not here. Also, they're investing in Babylon. Let us build houses. Remember Zabak? Zabak had a whole Israelite. He went down to Georgia and bought like 200 acres. It was like kind of not clean down. I don't know what happened with that. I ain't really speaking on the guy. But he was kind of knock trees down and feel like an Israelite community down there. Man, they would have bombed that shit like Black Wall Street if the dude set it up. Esau wasn't like having that, you know. Then you got didn't make what like Israelite supermarkets. Like then like you check these dudes out, they wanted to have it like where they have like how Amalek got their shit set up. Like these are our schools and communities and status and you know all Israel, Shalom, brother Shalom, different tribes. That's what they have in their mind, you know. This city is a cauldron. And we be the flesh, right? And that's basically like a beef brisket. Like they basically now are living in Babylon because do that again. This city is the cauldron, the pot, right? America is the pot with the water, with the bone broth, the flavor. Then what you take that brisket, that meat brisket, and you boil that shit. And we be the flesh. So basically, you just put it and marinate it in Babylon. Because you can cook a brisket for like, last for run, I had the pastrami brisket. Man, I cooked that motherfucker for like 19 hours. Yeah, and that, it fell right off. It wasn't no bone, it was just like a brisket. But like brothers, like man, it was just when we was in the mountains. Yeah, so and I could have kept cooking it. You know, I put it on a simmer like you could put that meat, you could just cook it and you could just keep cooking it and cooking it. And that's how on a low flame you could cook that shit for like 2 days. It ain't gonna burn. And it's just gonna get more tender and more tender and more tender. And that's how basically Babylon has done. America is the pot and they be the flesh. And America has tenderized them from their natural custom, their natural Israelite ways. Their integrity, it has softened them up. So that's what the pot does to me. It tenderizes it and makes it softer and it's honest them. You know, and that's basically their mentality. That's why they come in with the MOTB and this and that, because for you to say it's the actual, the Karama, the transactional deal, that's killing all your dreams and hopes right there. Because they're forced to say it's something else, but it's going to be to their demise. But you got it. That's a good point. And you got to understand too, right? Like another attribute that comes with the MOTB, Shalom, Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua B'Shem,
Another thing that comes with the MOTB, I mentioned this in the lesson I think last night, is that temptation. Can we get that real quick? Revelation 3 and 7. That temptation, that hour is representing a time period. Okay, it's not representing just one day or one encounter. It's representing a time period. Like just like the scriptures talk about the hour of Jacob's trouble, right? Because you may be working today, and your boss may present it to you and say, hey, by next week you gotta up to that thing. And you may say, nah, I ain't with it, and you'll say, all right, now you're fired. That's one. But then tomorrow you might try to go to the hospital and they tell you, hey, well, if you don't have it, you can't come in here. Right. So the temptation is not a one-time thing. That's why you got to prepare your mind. It is going to be for that entire period. You're going to have to continuously deny the peace. You're going to have to continuously deny His word. Because everything you see around you is going to be revolved around that. And that's why Yahushua talks about he that endures unto the end. Because you're going to have to really endure through that time. Ooh. It was the thing that they used to, the thing that you have to say, roll up your arm and stick it. I remember I was looking for a job at that time. I was out of the job. And certain places, I remember talking to somebody, they was like, I find that funny that you don't want to take the thing because the Christian church says it's okay, but for those Orthodox Jews, they can't take it. But the guy that he talked to on the phone, he's like, the Orthodox Jews, that's what he called him, he said, they can't take it all. But he said, I find it funny that you don't want to take it because the Christian church says it's fine to take it. But so basically, I couldn't find nothing for a while because it was like, you have to take it, otherwise I couldn't find a job or nothing. So it's going to be that same thing with, we saw a snippet of that with the, the rolling up of the sleeve. And that's how it's going to be with the MOTB. You can't do nothing unless you have this thing. Yeah. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be hard to avoid, and this is why you got to step out on faith. Faith is, we're going to literally have to live by faith. Every single day that you go by.
I shall live by faith.
Exactly. Even getting your daily bread. Because now you think about it like, wait, so regardless of how you're living now, there's going to come a point, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, it's like going to a country and you can't convert your dollars into their currency. It doesn't matter how many dollars you have, you cannot do anything. You can't buy or sell anything. So your money is either going to be converted to the digital money or it's going to go to waste. And that's when the temptation is going to come in, where somebody's going to say, yo, I got investments, I got buildings, I got property, I got shares, Yeah. Well, how you going to get the money now? You got to get it digitally or you ain't getting it.
That's the whole point.
The same way they forced the CHIP, yep, and your debit card. Yep. Remember, they ain't have them at first, so they'll send you, because, you could, as long as your shit ain't beat up, you can hold on that for a minute. But they were sending you the new one in the mail. You like, I request a new one, but it had the CHIP in it. Good. And you had to convert over. And a lot of jobs stopped paying people's checks. They're like, nah, you gotta have a direct deposit. Yep. We ain't gonna give your ass no hand. Yo, all right, come in the office and passing out everybody's check. Nah, that shit over with. You had to gradually convert to the new system. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to get paid. That's right.
Hey, real quick, the point that the elder just made, that's crazy. That's all going into gradualism, because what they're starting to do now is basically converting everything to the digital. Where years ago you could still get your checks through the mail, but now they're not doing that shit no more. And then you have the excuses of, oh, people are having checks that are missed. People are missing payments. The check is going missing, like shit like that. So in order to avoid that, we're doing everything digital. Plus, they purposely do it where if you're receiving checks, you got to wait a couple more business days before you get your money, compared to somebody who does direct deposit. You can get it instantly, the same day. Sometimes they got something called daily pay for certain companies where you work, rather than waiting for 2 weeks or a week to get your pay, you could get it right there on the same day, right after the day is over. So they condition the people's minds to live off of everything being done instantly. That way they could get you with the MOTB, man. You could see the writing on the wall, and we're leading into that. Like the brother just said, you're gonna have to deny everything because everything is tied to that. All these companies are making that change, and that means that the people got to make the change. If not, you're just gonna be assed out.
Yep. So it's gonna be a hard time, man. It's gonna be a hard time. Somebody got time? Oh no, I was gonna say, don't you have a saying with this with the MOT, it's the mentality?
Oh yeah, it's 3 stages. You got the RFID technology, which they had since the 50s. You had the RFID mentality, which is Paeo, which we in now. Then you have the RFID reality, and that's when it's actually implemented. That's the 3 stages of it. Technology, which they just been upgrading and bettering the whole time. The mentality, we deep in that stage now. The mentality, because everything is like cashless and digital. Then the actual RFID reality, which would be a short phase, but it has its stages too of voluntary and involuntary.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like you mentioned about the mentality, the this itself is just the object. It's about what it can do with the uses of it, and that's what they're setting up right now. The infrastructure is based on the uses of that actual CHIP. The CHIP itself, if they brought out the CHIP right now, because they have it, right? But if they brought it out right now and they gave it to you, it'll be of no use. Because right now, the system that this is going to play that key role in hasn't been fully instituted, hasn't been fully implemented. So the importance to that device comes when everything around you depends on that device. It's like having a key and ain't no treasure chest, ain't no box. What's the point of having the key, right? Now, when you see the box, that's when the key becomes oh so important. So that's why they're busy transition. If you look at the past year, a whole bunch of countries done up out of nowhere onto CBDC testing pilot programs. You know, Nigeria had the Jamdex. They had the digital yuan. They're going for the digital ruble or whatever it's called. And a lot of countries are now, like Iran and Russia and so on and so forth, shifting away from the dollar. They call it de-dollarization. And they were saying that the U.S. is in jeopardy of falling behind with the petrodollar, because now a lot of countries are moving digital and the petrodollar is becoming old news. So the U.S. got to hurry their ass up and develop a digital dollar in order to compete with the rest of these other countries economically, or else they're going to fall completely behind. But we know, all in all, these are all the steps in reality. See, when you read in Revelation 13, it gives you the main points, the heavy hitters, right? They're going to cause everybody to get it. This is what it's going to be if you have it. If you don't, you can't do this, you can do this. But we got to live
as a dragon.
and spoke as a dragon, the draconian measures. But we got to live the in-betweens. We got to live those details. Like you read the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, from half a verse to the next half is already 100 years of events that are happening. And it won't tell you, okay, when Alexander came up, he had to fight this war. He went down to Jerusalem. It omits those details, but they still happen. So we in that time where we're living out the details up until those major points that we hear about in the scriptures. Now I think a brother had Revelation 3. Whoever got it.
Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience,
Which we're doing now. When you go to the book of 2nd Ezra, matter of fact, can we get that too? 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, from the 40th verse on down. The Ezra said that what he commended greatly those that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. It doesn't mean just going around saying the name of the Lord. What does it mean to stand stiffly? Well, what comes with the name of the Lord? Persecution, attacks, everything that you see going on right now. Because you teach the name of the Lord, but you push his message, and you stand by it, and you're diligent, and you're apt to teach, and you're doing the things that are required of you by the Lord. That's a part of keeping the patience, the sufferings of the Lord's word, suffering for Yahweh Shai.
I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation.
So that's called a conditional statement, right? When you have the word because, there's a condition in there. Why did you do this? Because, right? Or because you spoke to me disrespectfully, I'm not going to drive you to work today. That's a conditional statement. You do one thing, cause and effect. So the Lord is saying here, because you kept the word of my patience, I'm going to keep you in the hour of temptation. It doesn't mean that, oh, well, I'm just hop up and just pray to Jesus and then everything is going to be all sweet. No, there's a condition that needs to be met. And right now is the time when you got to meet that condition. And if you fail to meet it, then the Lord is not going to honor his part of it. But when you go into the word keep, there it's in the Greek, but when you go into the Hebrew, I believe it goes back to the word shamar, which is to guard or protect,
To watch.
to watch. And so there's a reason the Lord said he will keep us, because it's not just a one-time decision. The Lord is going to need to keep us throughout that whole entire period. He's going to need to have those angels feed us, watch over us, protect us, help us evade certain situations, because eventually they show you in some of these movies like X-Men where they got cameras and checkpoints looking out for mutants and shit, and they got certain areas where the second you get there, you got to walk through this little scanner. It looks like a metal detector type shit, and it can detect if you're a mutant or not. Well, don't be surprised when they have those checkpoints, when they actually start narrowing down to find out who doesn't have it, they're going to have those checkpoints. And when you pass through, it will be able to detect if you got this thing or if you don't. And if you don't, then they might just have them officers round you up and take you to wherever them Rex 84 camp.
Hey, they got technology for that right now that they're
What?
actually working on, because they're using the surveillance cameras. So what's happening? I believe in it's happening in Australia and New Zealand, and I believe Canada is next, of course, right? And what they're doing is that they setting up these cameras that can detect who got the shot and who didn't. So if you didn't get it, there's a red box that comes around you, and if you have it and you're all set, it circles green around you. So you got people in the public. That's why they're dropping all these so-called mask mandates, is because they're letting everybody have their face out so that the technology could kind of read the faces and so on and so forth. And then they use it to categorize people. So your online activity is being tracked alongside your actual day-to-day activities outside is also being tracked. So they know who is going to be the problem based on the things you're watching and your actions in real life as well. So Esau got all these things covered, man. AI is about to literally be second Ezra, where it says that the burning wrath of a multitude that's kindled over you. That's the problem. But people not connecting the dots. But they already got that technology right now where they're watching people. They know who's who and so on and so forth. So that technology, the scanner that you're talking about, that you're gonna be able to walk through and they'll decide if they'll determine if you got something or not, is already there. But it's only going to intensify, and it's going to be exposed to the public. It's just one event that's going to cause all these things to unravel, man. You see.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
I was gonna say, just to ask this point, how when we were talking about how if you walk through whatever door, whatever, then they'll scan you and tell us you don't have to. They have that in that movie, Terminator Salvation. It's a fourth one. I don't know if you ever seen it. And I think it was who's John Connor's father again?
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese, right. When he walked through the thing, the Terminator view like, oh, that's Kyle Reese. Because that's up together. Because they captured a whole bunch of humans because they're looking for him, because they want to kill him off so that way John Connor's not born in that movie. So when he walked through the thing, they knew that it was him, and they picked him up and put him somewhere else. Just to add to the point with the whole door thing.
That's it. And another aspect on the chip, right? You know, I like to bring out people that be like, I mean, Shalakma. But people like to bring out, what I like to bring out is that the whole thing with the MOTB, you'll think like, why that though? Like, why something so small? Why an incision to actually be the fate sealer for the last days? Right. And the reason is, when you go back into the scriptures, the Lord always dealt with a fleshly covenant. Like Israel had the circumcised on the 8th day, right? That deals with the cutting of the flesh. You also had with Gad, you had the brotherly pact that Gad did. They slit each other's hand with the blood that come out and they shake hands as a blood brother pact. Also, you had the Lord said there's no redemption without bloodshed. So you had to sacrifice an animal, and ultimately Yahweh Shai had to sacrifice himself to actually redeem us. Then also you actually go into the word sex, right? Sex go back to the word it means to cut. That's where you get the word physics from. Because if you never had sex with a virgin, you never had sex before. Because when you have sex with a virgin, you actually cutting into her flesh. If a woman is not a virgin
and you just popping it. You just like basically hitting an open hole. But with a virgin, yeah, this is the truth behind words. You basically like just you popping her. You not cutting into nothing. But with a woman that's a virgin, you still a covenant with her by cutting into her flesh, popping her, breaking her hymen, because that's the stealing of the flesh, and she actually what? She bleeds. You know what I'm saying? So going up into these last days, the Lord got it where what? It's the same thing. You just making a covenant with Esau by the cutting of your flesh, filling the MOTB in there, and you making the covenant and the deal. I just feel bad. And you making a covenant and you making a deal with the devil by the stealing and the cutting of the flesh. It was always the way the Lord did things, how he made a covenant with Israel and throughout history. And now he's giving that same thing, he's giving that same custom basically over to Esau to use on the left-hand side to seal people in the world's faith, which is beautiful. And that's why people why such a small thing in your hand be so destructive, because it's basically the cutting of the flesh to seal that covenant.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Fornication against the Lord, basically, like commit adultery. And that's why the number of his name is 666, because like you said, 6 connecting the sex, connecting the cut.
Which means to cut.
Cut.
And the barcode used to bring out the numbers on the barcode breakdown.
On the back of the pocket for evil.
Yep.
The devil here. The first 2 bars, the middle bars, and the last 2 bars is 666.
Yep. Yeah. And the dude who brought out the barcode was George Joseph Laurer. Laurer. George Joseph Laurer. George 6, Joseph 6 letters, Laurer 6 letters. And he brought out the universal barcode. He was the one who like patented that and introduced that to the world. George Joseph Laurer with the barcode. So it all ties in. But it goes 666 with damn, I even think about 6 goes into sex or scissors, going all back to that root word which means to cut into, which is a heavy breakdown.
I was going to ask you this point about when you go into a woman as well, when you go into her vagina puts the shape of your rod as well. So it's the same thing with that MOTB. When it goes into your skin, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to twist into your flesh and then stay in there.
Yeah, skin going to go around it and everything.
And what the Lord called us, his woman. Israel is his woman. So basically what Esau's trying to do, he's trying to fuck the Lord's woman. He's trying to rape. He's trying to rape the Lord. He said, well, I'll present you as virgins. So Esau is really trying to come along and rape the Lord's elect. But the Lord ain't going to have it go down. These 2/3 out there, these whores, you going to stick your, spiritually talking, don't be simple. You going to stick your rod in them, you know what I'm saying? But you ain't about to stick your rod up in the Lord's virgin. The Lord going to come down and fuck your shit up. Once he hear his woman screaming, you ain't about to try to penetrate and defile his virgin, which is what? The elect. He said, well, I present you as a chaste virgin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you spiritually break it down, man, it's deep, man.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I was going to add on too how this is so deep because, and people don't even understand how serious our covenant is with the Heavenly Father. The nation of Israel, starting with the elect, is the only sovereign nation in the whole entire world. So if we understand that, then we got to know that these other nations also know that as well. When you go back into the time of the Babylonians, even the Persians, okay, they were always trying to have a so-called New World Order. When you had Nebuchadnezzar was trying to have a New World Order. The Persians, they were trying to have the same thing. All the way to the Greeks, the Romans, and now to now. They all understood one thing and one thing only, and that is, in order for us to have a New World Order, the Israelites cannot exist. It's either we take them over 100% completely, or we got to do away with them completely because they have laws. And those laws are contrary to our laws that we're trying to set up upon the face of the earth. So even if we have a so-called New World Order, these motherfuckers are still going to have their laws that they're going to keep. And we're going to butt heads. So when you go back even into the time of when you read about the time of Esther, the main reason why Haman was trying to get rid of the Jews was because of that. He
Yep.
told Artaxerxes that, look, in order for us to have a system that works, that we can all be happy with, these Jews gotta go. These Jews are the problem. They gotta go. And that's the same thing that we're facing now. That these Israelites are a problem. They gotta go. Because they have their own laws, statutes, and commandments. They have their own God, and they're not gonna worship our gods. They're not gonna worship us as the gods on the earth. They're not gonna do it. Our AI technology and everything that we got going on, they're not gonna do it. So we have to get rid of them. And that's why you're gonna start seeing, you got Bill Gates working on eugenics. You got these other what's this guy, Elon Musk, working on some type of technology, all right, to so-called basically, like the elder said, rape the Lord's people. But it's not gonna happen. Okay, you're gonna have the 2/3, but the elect you're not gonna touch. That's what El Shai said. If it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But you notice it's not possible. That's why they get the whole world through by way of deception. That's the biggest way that Esau is literally taking over the whole entire world and ruling over them, is by way of deception. But that deception, the elect have the eyes to see, so that we're going to be protected from that. But I just want to add that in there, that our laws separates us from everybody else's, all these other nations. So these other nations could be in subjection except for Israel. So there's going to be a clash, and that clash is what we're about to see very soon.
Done. Yeah. Hey, at the end of the day, man, you gotta understand deception is, people usually think of deception as like somebody telling you a lie or something like that, but it runs deeper than that, right? Because deception goes into persuasion. If they can persuade you to believe something that's not really true, that's all a part of deception, and even tempting you, like what the serpent did to Eve. Technically, he wasn't lying at some point, right? Because he mentioned that if they eat it, their eyes are going to be open, which their eyes did become open, But the way he did it was to get her to disobey the Heavenly Father's laws. And these devils, they ain't going to deceive right now, the talk is already out that the MOTV is a seahead. So even if they come and say, hey, by the way, it's not the seahead, if they preach into the choir, it's not really going to get far. What they are going to do is, they're going to deceive you that it's okay if whether you think it's the C-Hip or the Karagma or the MOTV or not, but it's still good for you. You should still take it. That's like what this dude Johanna said. We know it's the devil's stuff, but take it anyway.
The brother got it.
Yo, that's pretty much what Esau gonna come with. I know you done heard things about it, but just take it anyway. And that's he's gonna try to convince you why you should take it anyway.
He came clean.
That's it.
Fuck deception. He just straight up told you, damn.
Yeah, which is I mean, that's directly going off. And the Most High is going, because there's no way you can come back from that, because that's on record. And when the Most High, when Yahweh asks you, so what you mean by that? What meanest thou? Take it anyway. After you know that they, first off, you saying that, oh, you gonna take it because you gotta eat and you gotta feed your family. That's a very faithless statement, because then you're implying that the only way to eat is by acknowledging or conforming to Esau's ways. And yet the scriptures talk about having faith. In the wilderness, there were no 7-Elevens and Starbucks. When Moses his throat got a little dry, so he sent Aaron, to the 7-Eleven, to the Elamite over there, to fetch him a nice cold drink. That's not what happened. When they got to the point where they had no water, what did the Lord tell Moses? Which ended up getting Moses in trouble, where he couldn't visit the promised land. But he told him, look, just point your rod at this rock, and I'm going to cause water to come forth from it. Right. It wasn't a place where you just pull up. The wilderness, man, I mean, that shit was huge. It took a minute, so it wasn't a place where you could just, let's make a pit stop and jump onto this neighborhood and try to get some goods from here. And yet the scriptures tell you the Lord fed us with angels food. And it tells you in Wisdom of Solomon that the manna likened itself to everybody's taste. So it tasted good to everybody.
Right.
And
based upon your taste buds.
Based upon, exactly.
Because some people don't like spicy food.
Right.
Some people like sweet food. Some people like bitter food. And it was able to taste good based upon your preference.
That's crazy.
Super marriage.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the Lord did that for us. And then gave us water when we were thirsty. And yet that's still not enough for Jake. So when you say make these statements, you're forgetting about those things. Why do you think the Lord did those miracles? Why didn't he just do it in the carnal way? Why did you think the Lord did those miracles is so that it can be remembered. So he can be glorified. So you remember that, hey, why do I got to worry about conforming to Esau's ways when the Most High can make it rain manna? Elijah, the Lord literally had an angel bring food to him. He was knocked out by the tree, and then the angel woke him up when there was food and a cruse of water right there and told him, eat it. And then the angel did it twice and told him, eat it, because the journey you have is a long way. And I believe he went 40 days on the strength of that food. So think about that.
Remember the raven?
Yep, the raven. Let's find that. If we can find that. When the Lord and the widow woman. You have time?
Adding to what you said about Johanna, a whore always despises the chastity of a virgin. Right. You know, because she's looking, the whore is open. Like you said, their eyes were open, they were open and then some. Mm-hmm. You know, so men in that same mindset as General Yohanan, as Bishop Nathaniel, lest they repent, they're in the spirit of a whore, like, well, just let Esau rape us. Right. Just let him rape us, it's all good. You know, just take it, it's all, just take that consent. Yeah, consent. Consent unto him. Just let him open you up one time. So the Lord ain't gonna be mad at that. Right. But the chaste virgin is like, are you crazy? Like, no, you're not gonna do that. Mm-hmm. You know, but that same mindset is gonna lead many to error and many to destruction, because it's that gradualism. Just a little bit of wickedness is all right, but the chaste virgin of the Lord is gonna be vehemently against it, and it's gonna come against it and come against men that are convincing our people that it's okay, because that was the opening performance for the charisma. Mm-hmm. That jab, you know? Mm-hmm.
So they basically trying to create whoredom, spiritual whoredom within Israel. Not even create, they're trying to promote it. Right? Because when you tell somebody to take that, the scriptures explicitly tell you, do not take it. It tells you, right? If any man receive it, then you're going to taste of the wrath of the Lord. That's a punishment. That's a judgment. So in essence, you're condemning Israelites. You're setting them up for their death, which ultimately, it shows you the power of the Lord, right? Because he's really the one doing it anyway. He's the one putting the spirit on these individuals to say these things, and putting the spirit on such individuals to listen to them and to do it anyway. But even though he still did it, the Most High still going to jack you up for it. Right?
You got push that right quick. Okay. It's on how they follow these blind prophets. This is Ezekiel 14:9, and it says, and if that prophet be deceived when he has spoken a thing, I, the Lord, have deceived that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand upon him and will destroy him from the midst of my people Israel. And they shall bear the punishment of their iniquity. The punishment of the prophet shall be even as the punishment of him that speaks unto him.
There you go. There you go. So when the scriptures talk about the blood, you may say, oh, but Lord, I was deceived. But that's all right. You're still going to pay for it. We understand. Your blood's going to be on his hands, but you're still going to pay for it. Right. You know? That's how the Most High deals. That's the fear of the Lord. People tend to, in this society, they make you think that apology makes you exempt from punishment. That's not how it works. With every action, there's a reaction. When you go off, the second you go off, there is a punishment joined to that, set for you. And you may say, that's like a child, right? Your child does something bad. You tell him, listen, if you take that cookie out that jar, I'm going to beat your ass. You're going to get three ass whippings with a belt, right? And then he goes and he looks at you. He waits till you leave and he goes and takes the cookie out. And then at first he tries to lie about it, but then eventually he starts crying and says, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. And you may accept the apology, but you still got to whoop his ass because you told him if you eat the cookie, I'm going to whoop your ass. That's how the Most High deals. That's why he says, look, don't even eat the cookie in the first place. Don't eat it and then try to bargain with me so I can feel bad. The Lord don't deal that way. That's why he has warnings. When you deal with the Lord, the best way to go is prevention. Prevention is the cure. Ain't no prevention is better than cure. Prevention is the cure.
Yeah, they try to deal with that, the law of ignorance. But look, even if you were deceived, you were still warned.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you was deceived, yeah, but it wasn't like you wasn't warned. Right. You seen the prophet. You heard this before, but you decided to follow this guy, and you were still you was misled, but you were still warned. So it wasn't like I was deceived and wasn't warned. Then the Lord probably like, you know what, I had mercy on you. But the warning went out, and the Lord made sure all these people seen it, heard the scriptures, the prophecies multiple times. because the Lord is a just power. Israel heard these scriptures multiple times, and they had plenty of time to chance and time to repent, but they still chose to walk down the left hand path.
Got that enough? This is the book of 1 Kings 17:1. And Elijah,
right? Yeah, with the fish.
and Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, because at that time you had Ahab, which was the king, and he was dealing with Jezebel, that demonic whore, right? Meaning she was a demon. She was causing Israel to go off. Because when you read about it, I believe her father, I forgot, I think he was some sect of a Hamite, but damn, I forgot the name, Ethelball or some shit like that. But anyway, she came from that kind of background, and she started influencing Ahab. What's that?
S-ball.
Esbaal, the water, and she started influencing him being the king of Israel. So really, she was really wearing the pants in the relationship, because there's an account where Ahab wanted this garden or this piece of land that belonged to another Israelite, and the Israelite said, "No, I'm not going to sell it to you. It's mine. It was given to me as an inheritance." And Ahab went home sad, right? Damn, I ain't get it. And this bitch going to look at what the fuck you doing? She's like, "Well, what's up with you, nigga?" He's like, "Well, I tried to get the land." He said he ain't going to sell it. She said, "Who the fuck are you? Are you not the king? So if you want the land, you put your big boy pants on and you go and take the land. If you got to do away with the guy, then you do away with it." So she started polluting and tainting his mind. So she was really, what do you call that? Turning his, putting him. There you go. Yeah. And that's why, amping him up, and that's why he started going off. So the Lord set Elijah up to come and say that. Is that what he does? The drought. Okay, this is where he gets fed. Okay. But the Lord basically set up Elijah to make it so the heavens were shut and there was no rain for about 3 years. And that's where you read about the famine in Samaria. The account where the mother, the two mothers, they had the two children, they agreed to eat one of them's child, and then she hid the child. That was during this time, during that famine. So go ahead. And Elijah was scared. When you read about it, see, the prophets are regular men at the end of the day. It ain't no, I levitate in the cave, and go in and out through the spirit world and shit. No. Elijah was scared. That's why he booked it. When you read in Romans 11, Paul makes an account back to that, where Elijah said, "Lord, I'm the only one left and they seek my life. I'm out of here. I'm not staying here." So when Jezebel wanted his ass, he fled. He dipped. As any of us would, right? I got spiritual power. Nah, nigga, I'm out. Go ahead. Before whom I stand, there shall not. Okay. There shall not be dew nor rain these years. Now, dew. The difference between dew and rain is, prior to having rain, you had dew, which is like a mist. Like you see fog when you wake up in the morning, and then the leaves are all wet. They got like little waters on them. Yeah. That's because you have that mist. And I believe I read it sometime. I think the transition from the night, because the night is cold, to the sunrise in the morning causes precipitation. Yep, where you get the liquid, and then that's what waters the grass and all of those different things. And that's how the Lord watered the earth before there was rain. But according to my word, and the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. The brook is a body of water. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. Hear that? That's why the Lord is the Father of birds. So the Lord said, I commanded the ravens. Same reason in the book of Job it says what? The beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee, or shall be in league with thee, because the Most High commands those animals. So go ahead.
And about 39, that it was created for vengeance, and they named the beast. Right. Yep. The serpent, scorpion, wild beast.
Yeah. So on the one hand, you're going to have animals that are going to be protecting the Lord's elect, and then on the other hand, they're going to be ripping these other heathens and other wicked individuals to shreds. So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening.
So how do you have an account like this of our history? The Lord did it for the men or the prophet of the Lord, and then you turn around and say, well, take it anyway, as if the Lord can't provide for us in this time. And then the Lord is the same one who said, look, behold, the days of evil are at hand, but don't fear, because I'm going to protect you. I'm going to deliver you from those same evils. The Lord already promised us, Isaiah 65, that his servants are going to eat, that they're going to drink, that they're going to rejoice for joy of heart. And now you out here talking about, but then the flip side of that is you're going to have the others starving. You know what it's like to go without water, and your lips are all dry and chapped, and your throat, you can barely speak, and you feel exhausted. Your stomach is cramping, your body is eating itself from the inside out. Because you got people thinking that, okay, you saw mandates to see it, so I take it and I'm good. You know the most I can have it to where you take it and you still don't get no benefits? You still end up starving your ass to death somewhere? A building collapsed on your ass and only your leg is trapped. And here it is, your leg gets infected. There's a movie called, I know you might remember around the things, 182 hours or 180 hours or something. I don't know if you ever watched it, but I watched it.
The guy was stuck.
He was,
Man.
yeah. Man,
The guy that played Green Goblin, Spider-Man.
Yeah, him. Yep. He was, I don't know where he went hiking, whatever, but he ended up getting stuck in between, like, you could think of it like two rocks. He was stuck in the middle of it, and there was like a boulder that had crushed his arm. So he was literally stuck in there over 24 hours. And then he had a little camera recording, you know, how he was doing this shit, and that's when you start to see all the things that could go wrong. And this dude had to cut off his arm from, like, I think somewhere here with a pocket knife. And he's out here like, man, this shit hurt, but I'm either going to starve to death, get infected, a wild animal's going to eat me.
Oh no, my bad. They even show you that in Saw. When he was, I think it was the first Saw movie, when they was locked up in that room. It was a while ago. He had to saw off his own leg. Even though he did that, he still didn't make it out. The guy who was pretending to be dead, who was the Saw guy, whatever, who makes the game, he came and closed the door.
Damn.
Left him in there.
That's the Saw. I remember that when he was like X marks the spot. The first one, Hey, that shows you that too in Revelation 9, dealing with the First World War. He said, men shall seek death and shall not find it. So how much more last spinning around to these times?
And that's from the imagination of a man who was created by the Lord. So, and Lord, the scriptures call the Lord the King of Terrors. And I've seen different clips. They had one where there was an individual like shackled arm, leg, and the device starts to twist, so his arm twists this way, and his legs just keep turning, and you just see his shins just start, because the bones start breaking out, because the leg is just turning and shit. And the man is alive to feel all of that, and it's turning slowly too. I mean, they had some sick ass shit in there. There was a woman that had a contraption to her head that was locked into her jaw. And that shit just started opening. And boy, watch those Saw movies, man.
And you know what's funny? A lot of he was like, and it showed you the Most High. Like, a lot of them he was capturing was people that was doing fucked up shit. And a lot of them could have got out of it if they showed, like, faith or trusted.
Remorse and all that.
One of them, he had to go in the casket and close it. And that was the actual way out.
Oh, wow.
I was so many different Saw movies, but I remember the scenario. The way out of the situation, I think the walls was closing. Some shit where he was going to die, but the actual way out back to freedom was like to go through this, was to get in this casket, but it was like you were going to die inside of there. It seemed like it, but that was actually the way to freedom. Kind of like the Lord, like we got to go through these dark times to actually get to the kingdom. You know, that thin path with fire and water on each side. But it's like dangerous as hell or whatever, but you got to go through it. That's the actual only way out.
I remember that movie. It was he was looking for the killer. The officer was looking for the killer, and I think they was fighting, and he threw him in that casket thing. And when he locked him in there, he thought he got him, but he didn't know the guy was in there smiling, not knowing that it's a trap, and that's when he got crushed by the walls. I remember that.
Yeah.
And so the Lord got lots of different ways, like the TV show 1,000 Ways to Die.
Y'all got me doing probably watch.
Rewatch. Yeah, that thing is scary.
A Final Destination.
Oh yeah. That's all. But that's what's about to happen to a lot of people. Their final destination, at least on this side. You know. You know.
And he drank of the brook, and it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land.
So that while is not talking about 2 weeks. You know what I mean? He's drinking first off. A brook is a big ass body of water. It's not like a 1 cup that you drink and shit. So it took a while, maybe a year or 2. All right, but eventually the brook dried up, and then what is there more on that? I'm running into the riddle. Yep, let's get that, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
And the word of the Lord came up to him.
But these are you got to read these scriptures, not just like some fairy tale, but this is history, right? And it's a faith booster because these things actually happen. The scriptures say the Lord changes not, so you got to think about it. Well, Lord, you did this for the men. What's the difference? What's really the big difference between us and Elijah? We're doing the same thing he did. He obeyed the Lord. He did as the Lord commanded, and that's what we're doing. And the scriptures say what? Look at the generations of old. Did ever any trust in the Lord and was forsaken?
Right.
You got that?
A lot of us are the prophets coming back.
Right. Yep. You got that right too? Just hit the point on that.
All right, this is Ecclesiasticus 2:10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded?
And that's why the Lord had these records kept. So that way we can look at the generations of old by reading these scriptures. Right? And that's a rhetorical question because none of them, those that truly trusted in the Lord, were taken care of. Oh, the 3 holy children that were thrown in the midst of the fire. Fire is so hot that the person who went to open it got smoked. And they got thrown in there and they come out and their coats don't even smell like fire. Their hair wasn't even singed.
Abraham, he had that war with the 5 brothers. The Lord told him, I am that shield and that he can get the war.
That's it. And the Lord ain't never lied. Proverbs 18:10, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and are safe. And that's why it's so important why we keep pushing the name. And yet you got people, it's like somebody trying to grab onto your shield and unhand you. And here it is, your enemy is preparing their arrows about to release that. And you need your shield of faith. Right?
Or did any abide in his fear?
And what's the fear of the Lord? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
And was forsaken?
Which is not true. And that's why we have accounts of deliverance. So how did those people end up getting delivered? They had faith that provoked those miracles. Right. If you have faith that hazards your life, and you put the Lord's name out there, the Lord, how did Moses convince the Lord not to deliver the children of Israel whenever he got pissed off at them? He said, Lord, for your name's sake, because if you don't do this, the other nations are going to say you couldn't deliver them, and they're supposed to be your people, and you just brought them here to kill them. And then it put the Lord in remembrance, and he's like, you know what? These niggas are annoying as shit, but all right, I'm gonna do it. For the Lord's name's sake. And we got the Lord's name everywhere. We got shit. The Lord's name is everywhere. We got it everywhere. It's associated with us. Magic exterminators. Okay, that's it's associated with us. So when even people that don't know deep about it, they know that we say something in a foreign language. They be saying something, something. So they know that we push the Lord's name out there.
Hey, yeah, when I put it, because this garment got the Lord's Prayer on it, when I put it on, before we set up camp, a couple of mics coming up the street, but I just, when you see somebody looking at you, I turned around, but when he was still looking at me like, oh, but because it's kind of like, this is a fucking nigga. Like, what that on me? Like, what do you know about, like, ancient, even if he didn't know what language it was, he probably thought, like, yo, like, this nigga knows something, like, but, then I got half of my braids out, you know what I'm saying, like, got fucking, like, Timbs and shit on, so it just fucked Esau up, like, and like, because they look at our people as being, like, low level and shit,
right. He was judging according to outward appearance.
Outward appearance, yeah.
That's why he got messed up. But then again, too, right? Imagine you in the hood of the hood. and you see a Edomite, like a Jacob Rothschild looking Edomite with cornrows, white beater, pants sagging, and some Timbs that are not linked. You know what I'm saying? And he holding his like crotch and shit. He's like, "Oh, what's up, nigga?" You gonna stop and be like, "Yo, what?" Nah, is this me? Like, you gonna get messed up. Well, that's how they see us. They're like, "Wait, hold up, this shit don't match. It don't mix." You know? He dabbing people up and shit. Yo, you gonna be puzzled like, yo, and you gonna keep talking about it. Imagine that, right? You gonna go, yo, y'all seen that? He gonna be the talk of the town. Y'all seen that white boy? What's going on? Nigga more gangster than some of y'all. That's how they think about us. Like, yo, we stand out. What the hell is going on? How the hell? Look, what? This it doesn't add up. But it's the spirit of the Lord.
Yeah, kind, beautiful.
Finish up on that.
Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
And that's none. So we ain't gonna listen to you, Yohanan. We're gonna listen to the scriptures. All right, we ain't gonna take it anyway, because the Lord said don't take it, so we ain't gonna take it, and we're gonna trust in the Lord. That's it. I mean, that's not hard. The Lord ain't say climb Mount Everest 5 times and then offer a sacrifice to me. He said just believe. Why is that? It's so simple and yet so complicated. Believe in the Lord, trust in the Lord. Literally, just keep living your life, but just have things in the Lord.
Faith is simple, doubt is complicated.
That's it.
That's why homeboy, weekly Wi-Fi, whatever. We did that 5-hour long video just to say, like, this is to try to make a point about the MOTV, but he didn't say nothing. He's going hot air.
The deep.
It's the deep.
Yeah.
It's deep.
You went too deep and drowned.
5 hours of a false doctrine, my guy.
Yeah.
Man, bro.
Yeah.
Going hard in the paint for faith.
Yeah. But he went. That's what happened. You try to go too deep. Now you got us scrutinizing everything, like the apostle titled the video, right? And now we see. Oh, hold up. What's that? What's going on here? What you talking about there? You know. Anyway, let's see if you can find the point with the widow woman when he first meets her. And let's read that account, and then we'll close it off.
All right. So he rose and went to Zarephath. And when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there.
So Elijah is doing what the Lord is asking him to do. He gets to the gate of the city, because typically you have cities, you have city walls, you have city gates. And that's to protect the city from whoever's outside and whoever's coming in, right? Invaders. And that, like when you deal with the book of Nehemiah, you have people that will come to the gates to try and sell on the Sabbath. And he got mad at that. And that's why he started pulling beards, whipping people's asses and shit. Nehemiah wasn't somebody to play with, you know? Yeah.
Gathering of sticks. And he called to her.
So he sees this woman gathering some sticks, and he calls her
and said, fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand.
Breaking news. He said, just in North American Aerospace Defense Command is monitoring 1 or 2 more potential spy balloons, which I thought they shot down 2 of them already. Now they're saying they're monitoring 2 more. So, I mean, we'll see what's going on there, but you always got to stay up to date. Go on.
And she said, as the Lord thy power liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel.
So he's saying, well, it makes time for me to eat real quick. I'm tired, I'm hungry. And then you continue what you're doing, which is normal. Because back then, women understood, you know what I mean, the order. It wasn't like today, who the fuck, nigga, what? I don't know, you talking about make time for me. I ain't your bitch. Like, shit like that. That's how these women today would react. But back then, things were done in proper order. So she tells him, look, I don't got bread. I'm sorry. All I got is this handful of meal. Let's go ahead.
It was a lady that took the call to get her name. What was her name? The Lord put the spirit on it.
It wasn't Phoebe?
Phoebe. There you go. Phoebe, yeah.
Yep. And he mentions that, you know.
A lot of West African women got that.
Yeah.
Phoebe.
All right.
and the little oil in their cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And Elijah said unto her, Fear not, go and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me. And after,
you would think, wait, you didn't hear what I said? I said, I only got a handful for me and my son. She's talking about make them for you. What am I going to use to make for me and my son? But Elijah already understood in the spirit that the Lord, that's a light thing. The Lord doesn't command ravens to feed you, and you drink of the water of a brook, and you worried about one handful of meal. Why did the Lord send you here?
And after, make for thee and for thy son. For thus saith the Lord power of Israel. The barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah.
And that right there will show how much faith she had. Why didn't she say, who are you? I don't know you. How do I know what you're saying is true?
Right.
And I don't believe you. No. I'm feeding me and my son. You get out of here.
Especially in dire times like that. And that's not the nature of a mother or a woman.
Yeah.
A woman, that's all like she-bears, or like dogs, or like when they come to like their cubs, it's fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's a survival thing. You know what I'm saying? Or a single mother tell you quick, like, nigga, I'm a package deal. You got to deal with me and my kids. Or and then if it's survival, like you could tell, like you could have be dealing with your woman and it's survival, and you like, nah, don't go out there and sell your ass to feed your son or our kid. She gonna be like, man, fuck you. I'm gonna do what I need to do. My son gonna eat, because that's kind of like a mother's like nature to like when it comes to like her kids and making sure her kids good, they'll go a mile and beyond. So for her to do that was like totally outside of her nature as a woman and as a mother.
You can't help it.
Which had to be the spirit of the Lord.
Right? It shows you how the Lord designs everything on point, because babies and children are defenseless. So there's a reason why the mother has to be so attentive and so like a hawk whenever it comes to her kids. And they can't control it. The mindset that women have from a woman until after she gives birth switches like this. The second she sees that baby, she's a whole different woman. It's like she's a whole different. You try some shit, she gonna hop out that man. She gonna strangle you with their umbilical cord and hang your ass. You go on.
And he and her. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah. And she and he and her house did eat many days. And the barrel of meal wasted not.
So how is that possible? It was only a handful, but in every time you pour it and you turn the thing, it's still the same amount is in there. It just never finishes. Because as you pour, it's a light thing for the Lord to multiply those elements in that thing to just keep it replicated. Go ahead.
Neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake to Elijah.
And these are all important things to keep in mind as we come into these times. Now look, the Lord got you, man. The Lord had Elijah morning and evening, morning and evening, morning and evening. So we got to have that faith. The Lord fed us with manna from heaven. They called it manna, meaning what is it? Because they didn't know what it was. So when they saw it, that's why they called it that. And yet the Lord provided for us, as he always has.
And that's our forefathers. We can't forget about the personal shit the Lord delivered you from on this side as an individual. And I know all of us got stories. You know what I'm saying? So not just that, look, we can look back on the men of old, the ancient men of old, our forefathers, and see how the Lord delivered them. But we got living testimonies of our own personal lives. Whatever it may be, will you know the Lord? He said it. He said, I will bring you out of your grave and you shall know I am the Lord. Will you know this? Will you see the Lord's hand work, man? In your life, in this fucking age, on this side, in Babylon, multiple times, where the Lord saved your ass. So don't give up now. Don't lose faith now. You are living, walk, all the chariots you've seen and all of that faith booster, man. To stay glued and trust in the Lord through this time that's coming ahead.
I mean, think about it. What kind of person would you be? The Lord done all these things for you, and at the last minute you forget about all that and turn your back on the Lord. Over what? You know,
That's like the niggas in the wilderness. They seen the fucking Red Sea split. How you see some shit like that and just go on the other side and forget about the Lord or start talking shit? If you see something like that and you walk through on dry ground and close up on the Egyptians, man, you supposed to be stuck on stupid for like the rest of your life. Like, cause that's you go on the other side talking about we should have stayed in Egypt after seeing something like that. That's why niggas, you gotta be a 2/3 off of some shit like that. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's why you can't let them dudes in the kingdom like that. Because of Yahweh Shah being poured this miraculous deliverance on, this spectacular return on, 2/3 go in the kingdom and forget about all of that and take it for granted and pollute the kingdom.
right?
And it's just like a righteous woman and a wicked woman. You know, you could be nice. You could be nice and show love to a righteous woman, and she'll take it and appreciate it. But if you do that to a wicked woman, she gonna call you a sucker. She gonna call you a clown. Or this dude buying me things. Or he's treating me with respect. Because they reciprocate love as a negative thing. You know what I mean? And that's how everything backwards in Babylon. So that's why everybody try to be thugs, they try to be bad boys, they try to be rough around the edges dealing with the women in the West.
Right.
But if you be that way to like a foreign woman that's dainty and gentle, you gonna fuck her up. Because she gonna be like, why is you treating me bad? She might cry and shit when you yell at her and shit like that. Because she's actually in her element. So that's the same thing with the righteous woman of the Lord. We appreciate the things the Lord doing for her. We ain't gonna forget it, and we don't take it for granted. But the wicked woman, she's gonna look at the Lord doing and not take it, not be grateful for it, and still turn out to be wicked. And that's the 2/3. That's why they gotta go. They gotta be destroyed. Their line gotta be wiped out, and they gotta come back in through the righteous and be brought up the right way.
Proper reset. Yep. So let's finish up with that. You found it?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Habakkuk 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith.
But the point we're going to focus on is that part, which is the just shall live by faith. And Lord willing, we be of that just. It's really the nation of Israel, but it starts with the elect. And Lord willing, we be of that just. We're going to live by faith, and Lord willing, get delivered out of this place. You know? So pretty much with that, we're going to end it here. Aaron, you got anything else? Okay. All right. So with that, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh. Next time, Shalom.
Shalom.